This is Rummy's Corner. Good evening, boxing fans, and welcome to the latest installment in the Boxing Survey series, the Top 50 Must-Watch Boxing Fights. The results here are based on an open survey I conducted in the Classic section of BoxingForum24.com. I did not personally participate in this survey as I did not want my personal opinions to impact the outcome. A special thanks to the 38 people who did participate in the survey, each of whom provided me with a list of what they consider to be the top 25 must-watch boxing fights. 290 unique fights were mentioned at least once in the survey, but here we will focus on the top 50. This was the basic scoring system, 25 points for every mention a fight received, and then on top of that, the following placement points. 100 points for the number one fight on each list, 80 points for the second fight, and so on and so forth. Now, as we go through the countdown, I will be mentioning the outcome of each bout and also showing some highlights from all of these fights that cracked the top 50. But the idea of this experiment, it isn't about knowing the outcome of the fights, and it isn't about seeing a few select highlights from any of these fights. The idea here is that these 50 fights are boxing matches that every die-hard fan should experience. That's what's important here, the viewing experience as a boxing fan. And for what it's worth, I think this survey produced a damn fine top 50 list. Indeed, every boxing fan should make a point to experience each and every one of these matchups, some of which I confess I had not seen prior to conducting this survey. But now that I have seen them all, this list definitely gets my stamp of approval for what that's worth, even if I had absolutely nothing to do with the final results. Of course, the subject matter here is very subjective, but I strongly believe it was a worthwhile experiment. And whether you're a long-time die-hard fan or a relatively new fan to the sport, I'm hoping this gives you all some ideas about fights that are definitely worth watching that you may not have seen, or rewatching if you already have. Without further ado, number 50, Bernard Hopkins versus FELIX TRINIDAD. This one happened on September 29th, 2001. This was for the undisputed middleweight world championship. Hopkins was the unified WBC IBF champion, and Trinidad was the undefeated WBA champ. The expectation was that Tito's youth and athleticism would win the day against the older champion, but Hopkins overcame the odds and put on a showcase performance. It was a brilliant tactical display from the executioner. Felix was trying his best throughout, but he was simply no match for Hopkins. Bernard wore Tito down both physically and mentally before winning the undisputed middleweight crown by 12th round technical knockout. Number 49, James Toney versus Vasily Girov. This bout took place on April 26, 2003. Girov was making the 7th defense of his IBF cruiserweight title, and this matchup produced an incredible clash of styles. Girov was pressing the action and attacking aggressively, and Toney put forth a dazzling display of defensive aptitude. It was a terrific fight where both boxers showed tremendous courage and determination, but the spectacular infighting and solid counterpunching from lights-out Toney ultimately won the day. The final round was a slugfest where Toney scored a dramatic knockdown, and Toney won the title when he was awarded a 12-round unanimous decision. Number 48, Mike Tyson versus TREVOR BERBICK. This one was from November 22nd, 1986. BERBICK was making the first defense of his WBC heavyweight title. The destructive raw power and blazing speed of Iron Mike was the story in this one. BERBICK was unable to gain Mike's respect early, and Tyson methodically battered BERBICK in ferocious fashion. Iron Mike won the fight by second-round technical knockout, becoming the youngest boxer in history to win a major world title at heavyweight. Number 47, the second fight between Floyd Patterson and Ingemar Johansson. This happened on June 20th, 1960. This one was the Ring Magazine 1960 Fight of the Year. The undefeated Ingo was making his first defense of the heavyweight world championship against the man he beat to win the crown. But this time Patterson showed stellar determination as he put forth a very disciplined and intelligent effort. Floyd was a little more aggressive and he was largely able to neutralize Ingo's jab. Patterson won by highlight reel 5th round knockout after he landed a perfectly timed left hook that sent the champion crashing down. With the victory, Patterson became the first boxer in history to regain the heavyweight world championship. Number 46, the first fight between George Foreman and Joe Frazier. This contest occurred on January 22, 1973. This one was the Ring Magazine 1973 Fight of the Year. Frazier was the undisputed WBC WBA heavyweight world champion, and Foreman was the undefeated #1 contender. This fight is best known for two things: the bludgeoning sledgehammer power of Big George and the incredible courage of Smokin' Joe. Foreman knocked Frazier down 3 times in the opening round and 3 more times in the following round. Foreman scored a grand total of 6 knockdowns, and he earned the heavyweight crown after winning the match by 2nd round technical knockout. Number 45, the first fight between Fighting Harada and Eddard Geoffrey. This fight took place on May 18, 1965. Geoffrey was the reigning, undefeated, undisputed WBC WBA Bantamweight World Champion, and Harada was the former Flyweight Champion. This one was a fast-paced, highly engaging technical battle. Harada was like a whirlwind of activity, throwing punches in bunches whenever he decided to attack. Geoffrey was a bit more selective and deliberate with his offense, and he was effectively creating favorable angles in the midst of combat. After 15 excellent rounds of action, Harada won the Bantamweight Championship when he was awarded a razor-thin and somewhat controversial split decision. Number 44, the first fight between Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn. This one is from November 18th, 1990. Benn was making the second defense of his WBO belt against his undefeated opponent. Eubank was a bit of an unknown talent at this time, but his slippery, unorthodox style quickly proved formidable. This one was an entertaining scrap where both boxers were throwing big and landing big. Whenever Benn or Eubank thought they saw an opening, they usually unloaded, and both guys were giving as good as they got. Eubank overcame adversity and rose from the canvas before ultimately winning the fight by 9th round technical knockout. Number 43, Jack Dempsey versus Louis Firpo. This one happened on September 14th, 1923. This was the Ring Magazine 1923 Fight of the Year. Dempsey was making his 5th title defense of the Heavyweight World Championship, and this was a wild encounter. After dropping Firpo 7 times in the opening round, the challenger started clubbing away and knocked Dempsey down through the ropes near the end of the opening stanza. Dempsey rebounded well in the second and scored a few more knockdowns before finally sending Firpo down for the count. It was a 2nd round knockout for the Manassa Mauler. Number 42, Wilfredo Gomez versus Lupe Pintor. This one happened on December 3rd, 1982. Gomez was making the 17th defense of his WBC junior featherweight title. This was a tactical boxing match with several shifts in momentum and a lot of fireworks along the way. Each boxer was having a lot of great moments as Gomez and Pintor both absorbed and administered a great deal of punishment throughout this grueling battle. Both of these boxers were in tremendous shape, and things remained intensely heated later in the contest. Gomez retained his title when he rallied late and attacked with everything he had, and won the fight by 14th round technical knockout. Number 41, the first fight between Benny Kid Paret and Gaspar Ortega. This one took place on August 7th, 1959. This welterweight contest was a real beauty of a fight. There was a lot of toe-to-toe action, lots of punches, and a wide variety of intelligent tactics. Both warriors exhibited tremendous durability as they both dished out and received devastating doses of firepower. And beneath the surface of all the exchanges, Ortega and Perret both exhibited a solid foundation of craft and ring smarts. It was an ongoing battle of maneuvering that persisted even as they were letting their hands go in the flow of the action. At the conclusion of 10 terrific rounds, Ortega won the fight by split decision. Number 40. IBEABUCHI versus David Tua. This bout happened on June 7th, 1997. The crazy activity from Tua and IBEABUCHI made this one a mighty memorable heavyweight encounter. The story in this fight was its relentless pace. Tua and IBEABUCHI were trading hard clubbing shots with staggering regularity. The rhythm was an almost constant flow with very few lulls in between. Ike was generally throwing more and Tua was typically landing harder. There were a lot of very good punches being thrown and landed, and the action remained very lively and competitive throughout all 12 rounds of this exciting contest. IBEABUCHI won the fight by 12-round unanimous decision. Number 39. Jungkoo Chang versus Katsuo Tokashiki. This fight took place on August 18, 1984. Chang was making the fourth defense of his WBC Junior Flyweight Championship. Tokashiki survived a first-round knockdown, and this one quickly became a crowd-pleasing affair that saw both boxers exchanging powerful punches at an obscene pace. Round after round, these two angrily clubbed away at one another until Chang eventually broke him down in round 9 with a lengthy unanswered barrage that prompted the referee to call it. Chang was the winner by 9th round technical knockout in a mighty exciting junior flyweight slugfest. Number 38. Lennox Lewis versus VITALI Klitschko. This one happened on June 21st, 2003. Lennox was the WBC heavyweight champion, and he was making the second title defense in his third reign. Lewis and Klitschko were two elite-level, highly skilled, big, strong heavyweights, and the resulting clash of styles produced a memorable encounter. Klitschko started strong, and he was effective in the early rounds, and then Lewis began rallying back. In the midst of battle, Dr. Iron Fist suffered a nasty cut around his eye. The two heavyweights continued clubbing away, but in between rounds at the midway point, the ring doctor stopped the fight. Lewis won the fight by 6th round technical knockout. To this day, the fight is famously known simply as TKO 6. Number 37. Anthony Joshua versus Vladimir Klitschko. This bout took place on April 29th, 2017. This was the Ring Magazine 2017 Fight of the Year. Joshua was making the third defense of his IBF heavyweight title, and the vacant WBA belt was also on the line. AJ got off to a fast start and he was sharper in the early going. Joshua dropped the former longtime champion in round 5. Vladimir rebounded well, and he seized command of the momentum when he dropped AJ in round 6. Over the next few rounds, Klitschko boxed well as AJ slowly battled back. It was a dramatic encounter between two skilled and powerful heavyweights, and Joshua rallied late to score an 11th round technical knockout. Number 36. The first fight between James Toney and Mike McCallum. This one happened on December 13th, 1991. Toney was making the third defense of his IBF middleweight title. This was originally supposed to be a unification bout, but the WBA had stripped McCallum of their title 10 days earlier. This was a technical battle between two fast-handed technicians trading quick, sharp punches. It was very close and very competitive, and there were some terrific counters being landed by both. At times, McCallum appeared to be outboxing Toney on sheer volume, but Toney was the one usually landing better and harder. At the conclusion of 12 rounds, this one was ruled a draw and Toney retained his title. Number 35, the first fight between Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson. This one took place on November 9th, 1996. This was the Ring Magazine 1996 Fight of the Year. Tyson was making the first defense of his WBA heavyweight title. This bout was tentatively scheduled to take place 3 different times previously, dating back more than 6 years. When it finally did happen, it was a night of unexpected drama. Holyfield overcame the odds and put forth a dominant effort against Iron Mike. It was a showcase performance from the real deal, and he won the contest by 11th round technical knockout. This victory provided Evander with the rare distinction of becoming a 3-time heavyweight champion. Number 34. Big George Foreman versus Michael Moorer. This one took place on November 5th, 1994. The undefeated 26-year-old Moorer was making the first defense of his unified WBA IBF Heavyweight Championship. The champion utilized his superior speed and athleticism, and he was able to outbox Old Man Foreman with quickness and movement. Big George was having a lot of difficulty finding his range throughout most of the match, but in round 10, Foreman hammered Moorer with a monster right hand that would make boxing history. Big George scored a 10th round knockout and regained the heavyweight championship at 45 years old, making him the oldest boxer to ever win the heavyweight championship, a record that still stands to this day. Number 33, Iron Mike Tyson versus Michael Spinks. This one happened on June 27th, 1988. Mike Tyson was the undefeated WBC, WBA, IBF heavyweight champion, and Michael Spinks was the undefeated lineal heavyweight champion. This was a showdown for undisputed heavyweight supremacy. Iron Mike simply overpowered Spinks with power and precision. Tyson attacked and dropped Spinks in the opening round. Spinks made it to his feet, but Tyson jumped on him immediately, and a thunderous right hand had Spinks down again. This time he would not beat the count. It was a first-round knockout, and Iron Mike was now the lineal heavyweight champion, in addition to being undisputed among the 3 sanctioning bodies of that time, making him the baddest man on the planet. Number 32, the first fight between Max Schmeling and Joe Louis. This one happened on June 19th, 1936. This was the Ring Magazine 1936 Fight of the Year. The undefeated Louis was a rising star, and Schmeling represented the 3rd former heavyweight champion he would meet as he ascended through the ranks. But Schmeling proved to be very crafty. Max was patient and methodical with his approach, and he was finding ways to sneak in some stellar right hands. Schmeling dropped Louis in round 4 and seized the momentum. Schmeling remained disciplined and stuck to his game plan, and his efforts paid off in round 12 when he scored an upset knockout. This would be the only defeat suffered by Joe Louis prior to him becoming the longest reigning heavyweight champion in boxing history. Number 31, the first fight between Muhammad Ali and Sonny Liston. This match is from February 25th, 1964. This was the Ring Magazine 1964 Fight of the Year. Liston was making the 2nd defense of his heavyweight world championship, and he was a considerable favorite to win against the undefeated contender then known as Cassius Clay. But Ali overcame the odds and put forth a showcase performance. Ali utilized speed and quickness to provide a slippery, elusive target. Within the realm of the sweet science, this was a masterclass textbook display in the art of hitting without getting hit. Liston failed to answer the bell to begin round 7, and the fight was over. Muhammad Ali had become the new heavyweight world champion. Number 30, the 4th and final bout between Juan Manuel Marquez and Manny Pacquiao. December 8th, 2012. This was the Ring Magazine 2012 Fight of the Year. Their first 3 encounters were fiercely competitive with very little separating the 2 prize fighters, and the 4th remained true to form. In the most exciting fight of their epic quadrilogy, the momentum swayed back and forth. Marquez scored a knockdown in round 3, and then Pacquiao rallied back and scored a knockdown in round 5. As round 6 was drawing towards an end, Pacquiao began getting aggressive, and Marquez walked him right into a monster right. Pacquiao was down, and he would not be beating the count. Marquez won the contest by devastating 6th round knockout. Number 29. The third fight between Israel Vazquez and Rafael Marquez. This one took place on March 1st, 2008. This was the Ring Magazine 2008 Fight of the Year. Their first 2 encounters the previous year saw each man winning once inside the distance. Magnifico was making the first defense of his WBC junior featherweight title he had just won back from Marquez. Once again, these 2 boxers proved to be very evenly matched, and they again engaged in a lot of non-stop action. Each boxer suffered a knockdown during this remarkable rubber match, and unlike their first 2 bouts, this one went the distance. Vazquez retained his title when he was awarded a 12-round split decision. Number 28. The first fight between Erik Morales and Manny Pacquiao. This bout happened on March 19th, 2005. This one happened at junior lightweight. At this time, Pacquiao was a powerhouse rising force, and El Terrible was a seasoned elite veteran. Morales used a blend of tactics to use Pacquiao's awkward rhythm against him. El Terrible boxed when he needed to, he brawled when he needed to, and he reset when he needed to. All of this helped to frequently throw Pacquiao off balance, where Pac-Man was defensively on the back foot for long stretches. Pacquiao was still finding ways to forcefully attack, but Morales was generally more effective. At the conclusion of 12 thrilling rounds, El Terrible was awarded a unanimous decision victory. Number 27. The first fight between Evander Holyfield and Dwight Muhammad Cowie. This fight took place on July 12, 1986. Cowie was making the second defense of his WBA cruiserweight title against the undefeated challenger. This one was a fiercely competitive, intriguing clash of styles, where Cowie and Holyfield were both having moments with several mini shifts in momentum along the way. This one wound up being one of the last great 15-round championship contests. Holyfield and Cowie battled it out on fairly even terms, as both showed unrelenting mental strength and fortitude in the midst of this highly engaging scrap. At the conclusion of 15 exciting rounds of action, Holyfield won the cruiserweight belt when he was awarded a 15-round split decision. Number 26. Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvelous Marvin Hagler. This fight is from April 6, 1987. This was the Ring Magazine 1987 Fight of the Year. Hagler was making the 12th defense of his WBC middleweight championship, and Leonard was having his first fight in nearly 3 years. Leonard got off to a fast start as he was looking to patiently score from the outside. Hagler fought more effectively during the middle rounds when he was doing a better job closing the distance. Things remained close and competitive during the later portions of the fight, where each boxer was having his moments. At the conclusion of 12 rounds, Sugar Ray Leonard was awarded a 12-round split decision, making him a 3-division world champion. This somewhat controversial decision remains a hot topic for boxing fans to this day. Number 25. The second fight between Bobby Chacon and Cornelius Boza Edwards. This one happened on May 15th, 1983. This was the Ring Magazine 1983 Fight of the Year. Chacon was the reigning WBC junior lightweight champion, and Boza Edwards was their #1 contender, but the WBC refused to sanction the bout. Boza Edwards won their first meeting 2 years earlier. This time, each boxer rose after suffering a knockdown in the early rounds. This was a give-and-take struggle where Chacon and Boza Edwards were landing crisp hard shots with great regularity. Chacon had suffered bad cuts around both of his eyes, but the ring physician allowed it to continue after several examinations. Chacon rallied late and scored a knockdown in the final round. After 12 impressive rounds, Chacon won by unanimous decision. Number 24, the rematch between Joe Louis and Max Schmeling. The date was June 22, 1938. The Brown Bomber was making his fourth defense of the Heavyweight World Championship against his former conqueror. This is one of the most significant bouts in boxing history, and indeed, it remains one of the most significant events in the history of professional sports, period. Cool as an assassin, Louis battered Schmeling in ferocious fashion, dropping him a grand total of 3 times in the opening round. The fight only lasted just over 2 minutes, and the great Joe Louis was the winner by first-round knockout. Number 23, the first fight between Matthew Saad Muhammad and Marvin Johnson. This one was on July 26, 1977. This matchup was between up-and-coming light heavyweight contenders. Muhammad, then known as Matthew Franklin, and the undefeated Johnson battled in close quarters in a bout that was filled with thrills and action. The momentum swayed back and forth between these two well-conditioned athletes, and at the conclusion of round 11, the bout was still very much up in the air with little separating them. In the 12th and final round, Muhammad unloaded on Johnson with a prolonged barrage that ultimately had Johnson down. It was a 12th round technical knockout for Matthew Saad Muhammad. Number 22, the second fight between Matthew Saad Muhammad and Yaki Lopez. This fight happened on July 13th, 1980. This was the Ring Magazine 1980 Fight of the Year. Muhammad was making the fourth defense of his WBC light heavyweight title. There was a lot of toe-to-toe slugging in this one, where two dangerous punchers administered and received a lot of firepower. Lopez got off to a strong start, and he had Muhammad in big trouble during round 8. Muhammad somehow survived the onslaught, and he soon began fighting his way back. The two warriors resumed roughing each other up whenever they were in close quarters. In the 14th round, Muhammad dropped Lopez 4 times, the last of which prompted the referee to wave it off. It was a 14th round technical knockout for Matthew Saad Muhammad. Number 21, Salvador Sanchez versus Azuma Nelson. This bout took place on July 21st, 1982. Sanchez was making the 9th defense of his WBC featherweight title against the undefeated late replacement. Both featherweights exhibited tremendous skills right from the start. Nelson's speed and quickness provided him with an early advantage, and Sanchez worked better when he started utilizing his jab more. This was a tactical chess match that had a lot of fiery toe-to-toe action between these two highly skilled warriors. Sanchez and Nelson both presented terrific ring smarts and stellar stamina. In the 15th and final round, it was raw heart and determination, but Sanchez's superior firepower floored the challenger, and it was a 15th round technical knockout for Salvador Sanchez. Number 20, the first fight between Rocky Marciano and Jersey Joe Walcott. This match happened on September 23, 1952. This was the Ring Magazine 1952 Fight of the Year. Jersey Joe was making his second defense of the Heavyweight World Championship, and he got off to a fast start. Walcott dropped Marciano in the opening round, and Jersey Joe was very effective in the early going, but Marciano began slowly fighting his way back. Walcott was trying to keep Marciano at the end of his jab, and Marciano was trying to cut off the ring and close the distance to attack. But Walcott was consistently doing a better job winning this battle of the range, and because of that, he was winning the fight. In round 13, Marciano blasted Walcott with a booming right hand, and Marciano won by 13th round knockout to become the new heavyweight world champion. Number 19, Roberto Duran versus Iran Barkley. This one is from February 24th, 1989. This was the Ring Magazine 1989 Fight of the Year. Barkley was making the first defense of his WBC middleweight title against a former 3-division champion. Duran was able to earn the champion's respect in the opening round, and this set the stage for what turned into a tremendous fight. The earlier portions of the fight provided an intriguing boxing match, but later in the contest, things evolved into more of a brawling rhythm. Duran rallied during the later rounds in the fight where he was finding the mark with his right. He floored the champion in round 11 and finished the fight strong. Duran won by 12-round split decision, earning himself the middleweight title, which marked Duran as a 4-division champion. Number 18, James Buster Douglas versus Iron Mike Tyson. The date was February 11th, 1990. Tyson put his undisputed WBC, WBA, IBF heavyweight championship on the line, and Buster Douglas was viewed as nothing more than a tune-up fight in the lead-up to a scheduled showdown between Tyson and Evander Holyfield. Tokyo Douglas rose to the challenge, and he put forth a performance for the ages as he effectively neutralized Tyson's offense throughout most of the contest. Douglas rose from the canvas after suffering a ruthless knockdown in round 8, and he bounced back amazingly. In what would go on to become the most famous and unexpected upset in boxing history, Douglas won the fight by 10th round knockout to become the new, undisputed heavyweight world champion. Number 17, the first fight between Julio Cesar Chavez and Meldrick Taylor. This one is from March 17th, 1990. This was the Ring Magazine 1990 Fight of the Year. It was a unification bout between undefeated champions, where Chavez was making the third defense of his WBC junior welterweight title, and Taylor was making the third defense of his IBF junior welterweight title. Taylor's superior speed enabled him to seize control early, but Chavez remained determined and he made Taylor pay whenever he could. Later, Chavez started forcing the issue more effectively. Going into the final round, Chavez needed a knockout to win, and he somehow made it happen when he dropped Taylor late. Taylor did not answer when twice questioned by the referee, who waved it off with just 2 seconds remaining. It was a 12th round technical knockout for Julio Cesar Chavez. Number 16, the 6th contest between Sugar Ray Robinson and Jake LaMotta. Valentine's Day, February 14th, 1951. LaMotta was making his third defense of the middleweight world championship. Robinson and LaMotta were both familiar with what the other brought to the table, and they both exerted tremendous pride and courage in their efforts. Jake's pursuit was simply relentless, and Robinson's skills were simply sublime, and these two styles clashed in radiant style. Whenever it seemed one man had the advantage, the other would rally back ferociously. Back and forth the rhythm flowed with momentum shifts in the action. Robinson started attacking furiously late in the fight, and the referee had called it. It was a 13th round technical knockout, and Sugar Ray Robinson had just become the new middleweight world champion. Number 15, the first fight between Archie Moore and Evander. This one took place on December 10th, 1958. The old mongoose was making the 7th defense of his light heavyweight world championship against the fighting fisherman. Durrell got off to a strong start and he dropped Archie 3 times during a brutal opening round. Archie slowly began fighting his way back, but then in round 5, Durrell sent him down again. The old mongoose continued to try battling his way back, and Duran continued boxing patiently and fighting intelligently. Over the next several rounds, the old mongoose battled his way back to one of the greatest come-from-behind victories during the long, rich history of professional boxing. After suffering a knockdown in round 10, Duran gave it his all, but the old mongoose walked the fighting fisherman into a booming right hand that sent him down again, and this time he would not be beating the count. The old mongoose was victorious by 11th round knockout. Number 14, Big George Foreman vs. Ron Lyle. The date was January 24th, 1976. This one was the Ring Magazine 1976 Fight of the Year, and with damn good reason. This heavyweight brawl is like a boxing fan's dream come true. Two big, powerful heavyweights relentlessly clubbing away at one another with one savage barrage after another. This one had it all. Both fighters being regularly rocked, both boxers suffering multiple knockdowns, a timekeeper error, and ridiculous heart and courage from both with an unwavering will to win. Back and forth this barbarous battle evolved, and it was nothing short of awe-inspiring. Things dramatically reached the end when Big George continued clubbing away, literally beating Lyle down to the canvas. Lyle would not be beating the count. It was a 5th round knockout for Big George Foreman. Number 13, the 4th fight between Bobby Chacon and Rafael Bazooka Limon. This one happened on December 11th, 1982. This was the Ring Magazine 1982 Fight of the Year. Limon was making the second defense in his second reign as WBC Junior Lightweight Champion. Going into this fight, the series was tied up with each boxer having a win, a draw, and a loss against the other. This one unfolded at a frantic pace as the two warriors took turns trading back and forth. It was a showcase demonstration of Chacon's lead right hand and Limon's big left. It was a striking effort from both combatants. Chacon overcame 2 early knockdowns, and near the end of the final round, Chacon scored a dramatic knockdown of his own. At the end of 15 remarkable rounds, Chacon was awarded a razor-thin unanimous decision, making him a 2-time champion. Number 12, the first fight between Diego Corrales and Jose Luis Castillo. This fight happened on May 7th, 2005. This was the Ring Magazine 2005 Fight of the Year. It was a unification bout where Castillo was making the third defense of his WBC lightweight title, and Corrales was making the first defense of his WBO lightweight title. This was a tremendous fight the whole way through, where Castillo and Corrales were constantly launching away at one another with mean intent. But it was the wild conclusion that immortalized this one. Corrales was dropped twice in round 10, and he was also deducted a point for spitting his mouthpiece. Corrales then bravely rallied back with a spirited onslaught that prompted the referee to wave it off. It was a dramatic 10th round technical knockout for Chico Corrales. Number 11, Larry Holmes vs. Ken Norton. This bout took place on June 9th, 1978. Norton was making the first defense of his WBC heavyweight title against the undefeated Eastern Assassin. This one started off as a battle of tactics that saw some fireworks erupting along the way. But by the later portions of the fight, it had evolved into an all-out war. Both boxers were absorbing a great deal of punishment, and both continued giving it all that they had. The exchanges grew more and more violent, and with the championship on the line, Holmes and Norton were putting on an unbelievable demonstration of courage and determination as they brawled it out down the final stretch in what was an already exceptional contest. The Eastern Assassin won the heavyweight title when he was awarded a 15-round split decision victory. Number 10, the first fight between Erik Morales and Marco Antonio Barrera. The date was February 19th, 2000. This was the Ring Magazine 2000 Fight of the Year, and it was a hell of a fight. Morales was making the 9th defense of his WBC junior featherweight title, and Barrera was making the 3rd defense of his WBO junior featherweight title. There were times where this one resembled a technical boxing match, where both boxers were exhibiting a great abundance of skills, but by and large, El Terrible and the baby-faced assassin were engaged in an all-out explosive war. Whenever it appeared one guy was starting to build a little momentum, the other would rally back with some awesome firepower of his own. At the conclusion of 12 highly charged rounds of action, El Terrible was awarded a somewhat controversial 12-round split decision. Number 9. The first fight between Aaron Pryor and Alexis Arguello. This one happened on November 12, 1982. Pryor was making the 6th defense of his WBA junior welterweight title. This one quickly evolved into a high-speed chess match. There was a lot of cleverness and heart on display from both boxers. Pryor was generally throwing more and landing more, but Arguello did a good job absorbing incoming fire while maintaining focus, which allowed him to consistently land some sneaky punches of his own. Pryor won by 14th round technical knockout. This fight is well known for the controversy regarding the second water bottle Pryor received after round 13, but it's likewise remembered for simply being an awesome, entertaining encounter, still hotly debated to this day. Number 8. The first fight between Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas the Hitman Hearns. This one happened on September 16, 1981. This was the Ring Magazine 1981 Fight of the Year. Leonard was the WBC welterweight champion, and Hearns was the WBA welterweight champion. This one produced a brilliant clash of styles that was defined by several key shifts in momentum. Hearns was outboxing Leonard in the early rounds as he stalked Ray behind a piston-like jab. Leonard broke through in round 6 when he rocked Hearns with a left hook. The roles were now reversed, where Ray was doing the stalking and Hearns was using movement to stay outside. Hearns re-seized control late in the fight, but in the 14th round, a relentless barrage from Leonard prompted the referee to wave it off. Sugar Ray Leonard had become the undisputed welterweight world champion. Number 7. The first fight between Riddick Big Daddy Bo and Evander Real Deal Holyfield. This fight took place on November 13th, 1992. This was the Ring Magazine 1992 Fight of the Year. Holyfield was making the 4th defense of his undisputed WBC, WBA, IBF heavyweight crown against the undefeated Bo. This one quickly evolved into an epic action-packed slugfest between two brave and determined warriors. Holyfield and Bo were showcasing an eagerness to stand and trade, but as the rounds progressed, Holyfield was having difficulty coping with the size and strength of Big Daddy Bo. Holyfield exhibited admirable courage late in the fight, and it was a career-defining effort from Bo. At the end of 12 rounds of intense action, Bo won the heavyweight championship when he was awarded a unanimous decision victory. Number 6. Muhammad Ali versus Big George Foreman. This fight happened on October 30th, 1974. This was the Ring Magazine 1974 Fight of the Year. Big George was making the 3rd defense of his heavyweight world championship. Ali was physically past his best, and the expectation going in was that Foreman would administer a savage beatdown. But Ali proved to be very resourceful in this one, and he used a combination of movement, crowding, space, and ring smarts to neutralize Foreman's heavy attacks. He used everything he had at his disposal, physically and mentally, to break down the fearsome Foreman. In round 8, Ali unloaded a crisp combination to score a shocking knockout. With the victory, Muhammad Ali had become a 2-time heavyweight world champion. Number 5. The first fight between Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard. This one took place on June 20th, 1980. Leonard was making the second defense of his WBC welterweight title against the longtime lightweight champion. This one was an absolute showcase of tactical infighting prowess from both combatants. It was a grueling war of attrition, and both boxers were frequently engaged in frenzied exchanges. Duran was dictating the terms of the fight, and Leonard was perfectly willing to fight Roberto on his own terms. But this wasn't something that was typically working out in Ray's favor. At the conclusion of 15 rounds of high-tempo action, Duran was awarded a unanimous decision victory. Roberto Duran was the new welterweight champion, making him a two-division world champion. Number 4. The first fight between Irish Mickey Ward and Arturo Thunder Gatti. This fight happened on May 18th, 2002. This was the Ring Magazine 2002 Fight of the Year. It took place just north of Junior Welter, and these two proven warriors engaged in a legendary encounter. Gatti tried his best to make this a boxing chess match, but try as he might, the clash of styles on this particular night would simply not allow for it. Ward was able to effectively stalk Gatti where he was forced to slug it out. These two frequently brawled in close quarters, almost taking turns between administering and absorbing a ridiculous amount of punishment. Round 9 was an absolutely crazy round that saw Gatti knocked down, and then all hell broke loose. Both looked like they were ready to go several times, and amazingly, they both persevered and continued scrapping. After 10 rounds, Mickey Ward won by majority decision. Number 3. Marvelous Marvin Hagler versus Tommy the Hitman Hearns. The date was April 15th, 1985. This was the Ring Magazine 1985 Fight of the Year. Hagler was the undisputed WBC, WBA, IBF middleweight world champion, and he was making his 10th title defense. The boxing gods truly blessed and spoiled us fans on this magical night. Marvelous Marvin and Tommy the Hitman produced an explosive, action-packed thriller for the ages. The war erupted in the opening seconds of the opening round, and the intensity level was sky high for as long as it lasted. Hagler bulled his way inside in round 3, and he nailed Hearns with a right that left him stumbling. Tommy smiled at Marvin, and Hagler charged after him. Another big right sent Hearns timmering down, and he was badly hurt. The referee waved it off, and Marvelous Marvin Hagler was the winner by third round technical knockout. Number 2. The third fight between Muhammad Ali and Smokin' Joe Frazier. This one took place on October 1st, 1975. This was the Ring Magazine 1975 Fight of the Year. The Thrilla in Manila was the rubber match between two all-time great heavyweights. Ali was making the 4th defense in his second reign as heavyweight champion, and the expectation here was that Frazier's best days were well behind him. The brutal nature of this grueling affair never subsided. These two men were beating the living hell out of one another and displaying unbelievable heart and determination in the face of adversity. Ali and Frazier put forth magnificent efforts in their rivalry-defining encounter, and each man utilized every fiber of his being in a desire to win. Before the start of the 15th and final round, Frazier's corner stopped the fight. It was a 14th round stoppage victory for Muhammad Ali. Number 1. The first fight between Smokin' Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali. This one happened on March 8th, 1971. This was the Ring Magazine 1971 Fight of the Year. It was boldly billed as Fight of the Century, and the event itself actually lived up to and exceeded its lofty expectations. This was a unique situation, where Frazier and Ali were two undefeated heavyweights, each of whom had a legitimate claim to call himself heavyweight champion. Ali, of course, had never lost a championship inside the ring, and Frazier had emerged as the new champion during his absence from the ring. This fight would settle matters once and for all, and it wound up being an epic battle between two of the greatest heavyweights to ever lace them up. This brilliant clash of styles provided for a lot of action and a lot of drama. And at the conclusion of 15 exciting rounds, Smokin' Joe Frazier retained his championship when he was awarded a 15-round unanimous decision. So what did you think of the list? And how many of these fights have you seen? Or more importantly, which ones are you now most looking forward to watching or rewatching? Once again, I'd like to thank the 38 participants who made this survey a reality. Coming up with a list like this isn't always an easy thing to do, and I really appreciate the time and effort each of them put forth in creating their individual lists. Thank you very much. Is it a perfect top 50? No, absolutely not. And fans shouldn't limit themselves to a top 50 when it comes to the unique viewing experience each fight provides in any case. But I think we have a nice assortment here. Some of these fights have great historical significance. Some of them are elite-level tactical chess matches. We have some early highlight reel destructive knockouts. We have some dramatic come-from-behind knockouts. Some incredible slugfests defined by heart and courage. And we have some examples of tactical showcase performances. The final list in the survey has a little bit of everything for everyone, and I think that is a good mix of matches. For newer fans who are becoming interested in boxing history, I hope this list acts as a starting point for fights that are absolutely worth watching. And for longtime diehard fans, I hope that this list may have introduced you to a few of the more obscure hidden gems that exist for your viewing pleasure. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen at least some of these fights. Quite a few of you may have seen most of them, and some of you have probably seen all of them. But the idea here was to provide a foundational library of fights that every boxing fan should experience. The fact that there were a few I had never seen before made this especially fun for me, because I made a point to watch each and every one of these fights again, and there were some new ones for me that I had never even seen highlights from previously. The big standout in the more obscure category for me was the fight between Gaspar Ortega and Kid Perret. That was an awesome boxing match that I can't believe slipped beneath my radar. And were it not for this survey, I may never have gotten around to watching it. And even if you have watched each and every one of these boxing matches, these are the types of fights that are worth giving another look, particularly if you haven't seen one in a good while. You'll notice a lot of boxers had multiple appearances on this list. Muhammad Ali was featured 4 times, and 3 times inside the top 10. Then you have multiple showings from a number of other guys, like Big George Foreman, Sugar Ray Leonard, Bobby Chacon, Erik Morales, Matthew Saad Muhammad, Roberto Duran, and many others. These are boxers that are worth watching, period. Do not limit yourself to just these fights that crack the top 50. Then you have matches that appeared here that were part of a series. Take the top 2, both bouts featuring the rivalry between Muhammad Ali and Smokin' Joe Frazier. Their second fight didn't crack the top 50. It didn't even get a single mention on any of the 38 survey lists that were submitted. That does not, however, mean that you shouldn't watch their second fight. You should most definitely watch that entire rivalry. And that goes for many of the rivalries where matches were mentioned. The Marquez-Pacquiao rivalry, the Holyfield rivalry, and the Patterson-Johansson rivalry, to name just a few. All of these rivalries are worth watching when the footage is available. Sadly, in the case of Robinson-LaMotta, fans will need to settle on their 6th and final fight. But when the other fights from these rivalries are available, you should definitely watch them all. The Patterson-Ingo rivalry, for example. Watch all 3 of those fights. Personally, I would have ranked their 3rd encounter higher, but here on the survey, it was their second bout that made the cut inside the top 50. Watch them all. My personal list would have certainly included many of the fights that cracked the top 50, but my ordering would have been different. Had I participated, my inclusion wouldn't have swayed the final results much. But just as an example, only one of my top 3 choices actually finished inside the top 3, and that was the epic clash between Marvelous Marvin Hagler and Tommy the Hitman Hearns. I confess, I'm totally biased here. That was the first fight I ever remember watching as a child, and I was a Hagler fan like my father before me. Hagler was my first boxing hero. But still, if you're someone new to boxing, it's the ultimate fight to watch. Short and sweet, action-packed, highly dramatic, and historically significant. But then the other 2 I would have had in my top 3 would have been the war between Big George Foreman and Ron Lyle. In a lot of ways, the war between Foreman and Lyle is almost like a heavyweight version of Hagler versus Hearns. Except, it's perhaps even more brutal. A truly compelling battle between 2 hard-punching warriors who clubbed away at one another with every fiber of energy and will they had at their disposal. Sure, watching highlights will give you an idea that this one was mighty entertaining, but watching highlights of this fight does not do it justice. You really need to experience it start to finish. And the other one for me, the first fight between the Old Mongoose and the Fighting Fisherman. Oh my goodness. This is one of the most magically brilliant come-from-behind victories in boxing history. It's truly inspirational stuff, and this fight is an absolute marvel to watch. The heart and determination on display from the Old Mongoose in that one is truly legendary stuff. If you haven't seen this one, you'd be doing yourself a great service to remedy that as soon as time allows. It's truly incredible. Now, none of this is to say that I strongly object to the final order. Not at all. The fight of the century would have been in my top 5, and the thriller in Manila would have been inside my top 10. But the point of the exercise wasn't about what I think or where I would rank these fights in a must-watch sense. It was about a combined effort from die-hard fans of boxing history, boxing junkies who can't get enough boxing history. These 50 fights are damn good fights. And as I said earlier, the final list certainly gets my stamp of approval for what that is worth. And it isn't even really about the final ordering. It's about establishing a foundational base to work from. The rest of the top 10 is solid. The first fight between Ward and Gaddy was something special that definitely deserves to be a part of this discussion. Then we have the first fight between Montreal Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard, and again, this was a memorable and highly engaging encounter worthy of consideration. Muhammad Ali versus Big George Foreman? It's one of the most famous upsets in boxing history. Despite Ali being well past his best physically, he overcame the odds in resourceful fashion. Riddick Big Daddy Bo versus Evander Real Deal Holyfield? You betcha. This is another epic heavyweight battle, and this one would have undoubtedly been inside my top 10. The first fight between Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy the Hitman Hearns is still another one that would have definitely made my top 10. Such an intriguing matchup where the first big momentum shift resulted in a complete reversal of respective tactics. The first bout between Aaron Pryor and Alexis Arguello is another awesome encounter, which despite being best known for the controversy surrounding the water bottle, it provided a great abundance of crowd-pleasing action. And then closing out the top 10, that first bout between Erik Morales and Marco Antonio Barrera, yet another one I would have personally had inside my top 10 for sure. El Terrible and the baby-faced assassin provided an epic war for the ages in that one. With 38 participants, the most mentions any individual fight received was 28, and that was the thriller in Manila, which still had less total points than the fight of the century. None of the fights in the survey received more than 3 first-place votes. So I believe the final product represents a wide spectrum of opinions and preferences. And for the record, the fights that received 3 first-place votes were the rubber match between Muhammad Ali and Smokin' Joe Frazier, the fight between Marvelous Marvin Hagler and Tommy the Hitman Hearns, the first fight between Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti, Muhammad Ali versus Big George Foreman, the first fight between Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy the Hitman Hearns, and the fourth fight between Bobby Chacon and Rafael Bazooka Limon. Given the fact those fights each received 3 first-place mentions, to me that suggests, regardless of where they finished inside the top 50 here, those are obviously contests that are worth paying special attention to. There is a reason that those 6 boxing matches were in the top spot on 18 out of 38 total submissions. That, to me, is significant. Then, of course, the fact that there were 290 unique fights is in itself incredible. And I think this gives you an idea that there are, quite literally, hundreds of fights that were listed when 38 individuals submitted a top 25 of what they each considered to be a must-watch boxing fight. In other words, there is no shortage of awesome fights in the rich archive of professional boxing, and these were the top 50 based on the informed opinions of all 38 participants. This list does not represent the top 50 I would have personally had on my own list, but I sure do think it covers a wide variety that provides a splendid overall representation of the sport we all love. And I definitely believe this was a worthwhile exercise that I hope you all enjoyed. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have a wonderful night. This is Rummy's Corner.